it's time for us to talk about the fall of Matt Hancock, which I have to say can't have come too soon. For the wrong reasons, to be honest, in my opinion, but I'm not a fan of Matt Hancock, so I'll take it. So the first thing, I think, is who is Matt Hancock, and he's a really annoying, weird guy who, for some reason, is a Conservative MP for Sussex, and for some reason is given a position in Boris's cabinet. For some reason, because he just seems to be a complete... The term mediocrity rarely has a sort of human avatar until the creation of Matt Hancock. And somehow he ended up being the person in charge of the British coronavirus response because he was the health secretary for the United Kingdom.
Which, usually isn't a terribly important job, but...
not normally.
Last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been mad. But he's really weird. And so there's just been really weird examples of him. If you can scroll down on this one, John, you see him standing next to a woman with what appears to be an obvious erection, as he's standing just really close to her, looking at her in a really bizarre way, and obviously making her feel very inappropriate.
Do you have the clip of this?
I didn't get the clip of this.
Right, so for people who haven't seen it, she starts talking to the camera like you would, and he stood next to her, and while she's talking for a good long time, he just stood next to her really close going...
It's
just weird. Really weird.
It's just like, okay, has this man just been discovered in a jungle, and this is his first experience of seeing what a woman looks like?
Yeah, so people have redubbed it being like Matt Hancock meets a woman.
That's because that's what it looked like. And so if you go to the next one, John, there's another one where it's, for some reason, he was walking. If you scroll down on this one, you can see, there's that one where he sits like Woody in Toy Story, where he gets up at the parliamentary bench, he gives a speech, and then he sits down, but his legs are straight as if they've been locked, and so they're just sat off the floor. It's like, Matt, why don't you bend your knees? Like, he looks like the bug in Edgar the Bug in Men in Black, like he's being puppeteered by an alien or something. Knees are meant to bend when one sits, right? Okay, and he just keeps doing this strange stuff, and then if you go down, he's like walking along like he's a zombie in a zombie apocalypse. And it's like, I don't even know if he knew he was being filmed. That's the thing. Like, none of this seems to be like deliberate. It all seems to be just him being really weird. And so, right, enough of Matt Hancock's weirdness. Let's go on to him crying about the first COVID vaccination. I hated this so much. So he was on Good Morning Britain in December 2020 because some chap called William Shakespeare had been the first person to have got his second dose or first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. And Matt Hancock tried to make it look like he was being sincere, but there was so obviously a liar's smile coming out of his face. He was like, "Oh, I'm weeping," as he's got this huge grin on his face. Like, Matt, no one believes you were weeping. Everyone knows that you're lying to our faces. You could have just kept a straight face, but for some reason, he was just so overjoyed that he had to pretend like he was crying, brought to tears. And it was just embarrassing, and everyone was like, Matt, shut up. You're literally the incompetent kid in school.
I mean, the only side of this I could take is probably that he's so weird when he doesn't think the cameras are on. When the cameras are on, I imagine he's also just that weird.
Well, it's just such a strange thing where, it just seemed to be like a discussion in the office. It's like, okay, right, if you go out there and show some tears on TV, people will think that this was a really important thing, and it will be significant, of narrative significance, that William Shakespeare first got the vaccine, and he just couldn't pull it off because he's useless.
He might just be that autistic as well. That's another thing that might be true.
Could be, but anyway, the point is, the UK's coronavirus response was essentially Matt Hancock's creation. The lockdowns, the way things were enforced, the way all this was done, basically Hancock's creation. And so when he's there saying, right, okay, you're all going to have to stay inside, you're not allowed to, go outside and meet with other households, you're not allowed to have relations with someone you do not live with, well, Matt Hancock was caught having relations with someone he did not live with. He's been married for 15 years as well, which isn't good. But the thing is, as well, the worst part about this, can we play the video with the sound off just so we can see, Matt Hancock, he looks like he's being puppeteered, right? His behaviour, this is so weird. Let's close the door here. And then if it wasn't Matt Hancock, I would say this was a setup. Right? Because no one else acts in such a wooden way. And, she just comes in off camera, and then they're having this weird kiss that, is grossing me out. But if it wasn't him, I would say that this is put on.
His hair?
Well, yeah, good question. I think it's just the light reflection or something.
Okay.
But But like I said, if it wasn't him, I would think this had been put on because he's acting so weird and woodenly, right? But okay, enough of seeing Matt Hancock being like trying to be a human.
Like even when he thinks the cameras are off, that's what I mean. He's still such a mess.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird. So anyway, the Sun broke that he had been having a secret affair with his closest aide. This is all going to be disgusting rumor mill nonsense that we're going to have to talk about now. So enjoy. But he cheated on his wife with Gina Coladengelo, who he hired last year with taxpayers' money. So the Sun, it's like, yes, the Sun, of course he used taxpayer money. If you use private money from like Russia or something, I think it'd be a bit more of a scandal. Of course he's using taxpayer money, the Sun. But the point is, he hired this lady as his assistant, and some unknown person had put a secret camera in a cabinet member's office, and of course caught this. Nobody seems that concerned about the fact that in cabinet members' offices there are secret cameras being put up and then being leaked by unknown agents to the Sun to ruin the careers, incidentally, of cabinet members. Again, I don't complain in this instance because I hate Matt Hancock, but in other respects this might be considered to be bad. Like, if you're concerned about the integrity and secrecy of government operations from foreign agents, you might have a concern about this, but...
If it's anyone but Boris Johnson that's been putting these up, then that... Because if it's anyone else, then it's a security breach. If it's the Prime Minister doing it so he's got dirt on his cabinet colleagues, then that might be a reason. I mean, still creepy as hell, but anyone else, I mean, yeah, you're right. That's a massive security breach.
It's wild that someone put a secret camera in a cabinet member's office. I mean, who knows? This is like the least damaging interpretation of that. Oh, we caught Matt Hancock having an affair. I actually don't care that Matt Hancock had an affair. I care that, it could be anyone who gets access to what's happening in our government.
Because I saw a rumor that he was complaining that China might have done this, released it.
Maybe.
But then I have to wonder if you did have those kind of cameras and then you could send that stuff to the CCP. I mean, they could do a lot of damage.
Sure, but why? How did this happen? But anyway, he was seen kissing her at the Department of Health's London HQ during office hours. This is in his office.
The important thing here for people who are foreign and might not know is whilst he was doing this as well, it was the period in which you could not even go and see someone from another house or do anything.
As I said, he forbidden to have relations from someone you didn't.
He was breaking the rules there.
Of course, yes, that's the point.
And the immoral point also being he's cheating on his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a sin.
If we go on to the next one, which is our reporting on this, he admits that he broke his own rules, obviously, which is, I guess, the most important thing.
I mentioned the sin thing because I don't know if you saw, there was a guy on, I think it was GB News this morning from the Church of England, a bishop, being like, yeah, well, it's really unfortunate that he broke the rules. I don't much care about the adultery. I'm like, you're a bishop.
Yeah, how do you not
it's
care
the
about
sixth commandment.
But that's the point, isn't it? Anyway. So Matt said he'd let people down. It's like, really? You think? I mean, you were only imposing some sort of extreme COVID Sharia on the entire country, and then you decided to cheat on your wife in the middle of it, Neil Ferguson style. So yes, I've decided that this is a terrible, terrible plague, and we're all going to die. We almost social distance, except for me. I'm not going to social distance. So anyway, this was during the spread of the so-called Delta Plus strain last month. He said he had let people down, some at least things. He said he would remain focused on dealing with the pandemic after he had accepted he had breached the social distancing guidance. Yes, I suppose you did. But the thing is, this, as I said, this happened with Neil Ferguson. And of course, he decided that what he was going to do was just try and ride it out. And we covered this a bit last week, because it was like, okay, well, if these things go on for like 5 days or more, then they essentially get dropped.
We spoke about it. Apparently there was a rule, I've got a politics textbook in which it's mentioned that, what was the guy? Alistair Campbell, the spin doctor for Tony Blair, had said that if the corporate press complains for 5 days, then the correct thing to do is the Prime Minister to boot the Minister. So that was the rule in the textbook. And
so one of the things that's interesting about that is the fact that Boris didn't kick him immediately. Because this isn't exactly good. But anyway, so pressure then grew on him to quit on the 25th, as The Guardian reports. And Hancock said, I accept I breached the social distancing guideline in these circumstances. I've let people down. I'm very sorry. I remain focused on working to get this country out of the pandemic. Would be grateful for privacy on my family for my family on this personal matter. I don't think you can.
No honor.
Really. Yeah, don't think you can. I mean, at the end of the day, Matt, you may well have been spreading COVID yourself. And so
I mean, it is his aide that he's working with probably every day,
Yeah.
so it's unlikely. But even then,
Sure.
just no honor of the man. Just resign immediately.
Yeah. But Boris had accepted his apology for breaking the rules and considered the matter closed. It's like, yeah, Boris would say that because it's not like his own personal love life is replete with glorious works and honor. So, yeah, as I said, Matt had been married to his wife for 15 years, and this looks pretty bad. For some reason, The Guardian have given us the results of a Snap YouGov poll, which I put no stock in, but 49% of those surveyed thought Hancock should step down, up from 36% in May. So at least a third of the public were like, yeah, we hate Matt Hancock. Hancock then resigned. He put out a personal letter that for some reason Piers Morgan broke. Don't know why. But mostly waffle about how hard he worked. Maybe. I'm not gonna say he didn't. I'm going to say I found his work to be tyrannical and oppressive and disproportionate to the problem, and the fact that he broke those rules is pretty bad as well. But he says, I apologise to my family and for my loved ones for putting them through this. I also need to be with my children at this time. You got a sus face on. What's going on?
Didn't he go home and then just leave?
We'll talk about that in a second.
But just, I need to be with my children. But nah.
Yes, I'd like to be with my family. Yes, well, a lot of men who are going to get divorced in the near future would like to be with their family too. Not always an option, given the way the legal system works. But then, of course, he put out his tweet of resignation, which basically said exactly the same thing. He spends a lot of time trying to validate his choices with the work he had done during the pandemic. But the thing is, Matt, I don't think the work you did during the pandemic was good, so you can't really appeal to that. But anyway, what the funniest response to this, for some reason, was a Right Said Fred dunking on them. Like, for some reason, the band, the 90s band, the 90s gay band, Right Said Fred, say, you were a fake, a liar, a cheat, and the poster boy for the World Economic Forum. Who on earth would want to be you? From Right Said Fred, Matt. And I agree with them too. That's the most salient statement about that anyone has ever made about Matt Hancock. And it was by Right Said Fred, interestingly. So anyway, Sajid Javid has been introduced to replace him, which is a good choice, to be honest. I quite like Sajid, which obviously outraged all the right people. First being Britain's own Al-Sabaidi. What?
You haven't seen him talking about BLM?
No, what did he say
It's
about
cringe.
it? Oh, was it?
Like, after the verdict was given in the Chauvin trial, he tweeted out, what was it? Justice, Black Lives Matter, and then just all caps with, like, the hashtag as well. And it was just like...
God, I wish the Conservatives would stay off social media. Yeah. But anyway, so what I found really interesting about the Sky News report about this is that they put Britain's own Al-Sabaidis as a more important source than the Labour Shadow Health Secretary. As in, Dominic Cummings got higher billing in this article than Jonathan Ashworth. As in, yes, we know that you're the opposition's Shadow Health Secretary, and I'm sure that's important.
But you're not very relevant.
But yeah, exactly. But Dominic Cummings is tweeting about this, and that's way more important for people to hear. So I'm not even joking.
Look, you're only a shadow minister.
Yeah, exactly. You're only the person assigned by the Labour Party. Who cares about them? Cummings suggested that Johnson's wife, Carrie Simmons, played a role in the decision to hire Javid as the new health secretary. He tweets, so Carrie appoints Saj. No, if I hadn't tricked the PM into firing Saj, we'd have had HMT with useless SOS/SPADs, no furlough scheme, total chaos instead of the joint 10-11 team, which was a big success. So taking credit, basically, for what's happened, using a bunch of insider talk that I can't really understand. No. So I don't know what all of those acronyms are.
Also, he's been releasing things showing Hancock to be a waste of space.
Yes.
For the last month or two as well.
Yeah, it's been great. Boris called him effing useless.
In a private chat.
That got leaked. Private WhatsApp chat. That got leaked. Because it was true. So anyway, yeah, Jonathan Ashworth, whoever that guy is, said Sajid Javid failed to reverse the previous 8 years of social cuts or deliver the NHS investment, blah, blah, Labour talking points. That's why you came lower than Dominic Cummings. And Dominic Cummings was speaking purely to insiders there. But anyway, so Sajid has come in and said, well, look, my priority is just getting back to normal, because that's a good priority. He literally just wants to get us out of the lockdown, which I hope he's being serious about. But right, so moving on from that, let's get back onto it. Hancock then decided to rush home on the Thursday when this broke and leave his wife.
Right, was that before or after it leaked? Like, did the leaker give him...
Before it leaked.
So the leaker gave him a note saying, we're going to leak this
Yes.
from the Sun.
The grapevine.
You have 3 hours.
The internal grapevine, exactly. The
Yeah.
Sun will take X amount of hours to publish this, so you've got this amount of window to go home.
Would you like to comment as well?
Probably something like that, yeah. So this is, of course, all based on salacious gossip because it's The Mirror, and that's why we're going to cover it, because it's funny. I love the way they frame things up. Disgraced Matt Hancock, correct, has left his wife Martha, reportedly telling her he was leaving after realising his kiss with an aide was about to be revealed. Well, what an awful afternoon his wife must have been having. He's probably pottering around having a perfectly normal day. Matt Hancock burst into the door, all right, darling, yeah, I'm breaking up with you because there's about to be a national scandal because I was kissing my secretary. She's like, what? Like,
Just cleaning the dishes, you put the kids to bed.
yeah,
I'm divorcing you because I'm cheating on you. Bye. Just leaves.
yeah, because he burst in breathlessly, right? Hancock even reportedly woke up their youngest child, who was 8, to say that he was leaving. What an awful human being.
To go and get milk or something like.
Just
Daddy's going to go buy cigarettes. I'll be back soon.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Tommy. There's about to be a huge political scandal. I'm leaving you and your mum. Bye. What an absolute piece of crap Matt Hancock is here, right? And again, there's one thing doing this, and there's a moral fault in doing this, but there's also the moral fault in the way he's handling this, which is to try and get ahead of a political scandal. It's like, look, no one is going to be on your side at the end of this, Matt. There's no point, traumatizing your children and your wife over this. But, I mean, it's not going to save you, but of course he thought it would.
Is it better for them to hear it from him or to hear it from the Sun?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because the only reason he's telling his wife and family is because of the Sun. Because this is all about to go public, and I'm about to be public enemy number 1. So you may as well know I am a filthy cheat, and our marriage is over. And the thing is, right, Martha apparently thought their marriage was happy and stable.
Quote from her?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
And, so the kids are in bed, the wife's just doing wifely things, and Matt Hancock's like, yeah, so I've ruined everything because I'm a prick. Bye. And so that's it. Because apparently now he's in love with Gina. He's decided, oh, no, this is a fairy tale romance. We can go to the next one. Hancock and aide Gina are apparently said to be serious about their relationship. Are they? What? Okay. If you say so, Matt. I mean, I don't really care, but
When did it start? That's the next question I've got.
Well, 6 weeks ago.
It's not serious. No, this is the stress of the job. And that's your
That's
aid.
what it looks like, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 6 weeks ago, they began their affair.
You've just ruined your life.
You've just ruined your life and your wife's life and your children's lives over this. I mean, if you'd come out and said, you know what, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done that, maybe my wife will take me back or something.
Yeah, I'm retiring from politics. But...
Retiring from politics, whatever it is, you could have salvaged your 15-year relationship with your wife and your being the father of your children.
I mean, he could have blamed it on the job, being like,
Yeah.
this has destroyed my mental thinking or whatever.
Yeah. You could have had any amount of excuses that would have led to a less humiliating result than this. And so, yeah, I mean, she's obviously going to be leaving her husband because she's married. And Gina's married, yeah. To someone that Hancock employs. It's just awful, isn't it? So it's why it's so funny. Imagine being the husband, I can't believe she left me for Matt fucking Hancock.
Well, have you seen a picture of the husband?
Yeah, he's a nerd as well, obviously.
He looks like a cuck.
Yeah, he does. But Matt Hancock is not exactly Chad McChadderson, is he? Right? So it's just like, I've lost my wife.
He's got more power than me. He can stop everyone going to the pub and stop them procreating. I can't do that.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you have just lost
Imam Hancock over here.
You have just lost your wife to a human skin that's being puppeteered by a bug alien. So, anyway. So apparently he's expected to set up home with Miss Colendangelo. And apparently, his wife was totally clueless about this. So, right, okay.
Oh, you gotta feel bad for her, yeah.
Yeah, but this is just mad. But anyway, so the interesting thing really that comes out of all of this, the fact that he turns out he's facing an investigation because he was using his personal email account, Hillary Clinton style, to deal with the pandemic rather than his official one, which means the government doesn't hold any records, or many records, of his PPE contract dealings. So he could have been taking lots of money through the back door and the government won't know because it's all in his private emails.
Can you not subpoena Google for that?
Oh, I imagine they probably could and probably should.
I don't know how that's going to work out then.
No, me either, but presumably not great.
I did see the police in response to being asked about whether or not he'd broken COVID rules and therefore would they investigate him. The police responded with no because it was retrospect. It was like, all crime is retrospect.
Yeah, you very rarely catch people in the act. But so good to know that the camera has been disabled.
But not the one in the men's loo. That's still...
But apparently it's been turned off, and a probe has begun to find out who leaked the footage. And I can't help but ask, why is there a secret CCTV camera in the office of one of the cabinet members? Who has access to it?
Like, are they saying it's a secret camera or not?
Yes.
Where?
Matt obviously didn't know it was there, did he?
Well, they just say CCTV camera here.
Yeah.
I mean, are there just cameras in everyone's office staring at them and then...
But there can't be. You can't have CCTV cameras in, like, Boris Johnson's office.
God, it'd be a fantastic stream, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing, but that's the problem. It would be a fantastic stream, and all of China would be very interested in watching it, no doubt. Right? You can't have that. You can't have... I mean, that's...
Sure.
That's ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? The vulnerability that this opens up our government to is mad. And it's like, okay, so it's been disabled but not removed. That's weird. Again, is Boris the one watching these cameras?
Just eating popcorn.
Why not? But then this doesn't exactly it doesn't exactly buck a trend of general incompetence from the British government. And again, this is why I'm all for small government, because the less that the government does, the less they can screw up. Because apparently classified Ministry of Defence documents were just found at a bus stop.
Yeah, this happens on occasion.
It does, yeah. A bunch of times. In fact, the
Last time I think it was on a tube.
The Westminster pedo investigation went missing on the tube, didn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, really weird. Just the document, the one only document about the investigation of the paedophile ring at Westminster that apparently doesn't exist. The document just went missing, so we'll never know. Weird. Just really weird. But yeah, so these were classified Ministry of Defence documents about HMS Defender and British military have been found at the bus stop in Kent, as you do. One of the set of documents discusses the likely Russian reaction to the ship's passage through the Ukrainian water of the Crimean coast on Wednesday. Remember when they shot at us and we said they didn't shoot at us? You know, the international incident that may trigger a war with Russia? Just leave those documents at the bus stop.
Why is it in Kent?
Don't know. Good question.
Ministry of Defence is in London.
Yeah, I know. I'm not... I mean, Kent's relatively close to London. So maybe...
Someone's bussing in? Like...
Yeah, obviously. That's what I would have assumed. But apparently the MOD is investigating...
Sorry, who at the department is taking a bus to London every day?
Well, I imagine there are probably quite a few people. But
I imagine they drive. If you've got a job in that important, they're going to pay you a lot.
more importantly, why are they using dossiers of documents like this is the 1980s? Like, what are you doing?
Might be safer on paper, I don't know.
Obviously not. They get left in bus stops.
Everything on the cloud's already owned by the Russians and the Chinese anyway, so...
Exactly, but at least you can encrypt it.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, so yeah, that's the general... some say sus. Yeah, well, that's the point, isn't it? You know, it all looks quite sus. I would very, very, very much like to know who put the camera there. If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 PM UK time on lotuseaters.com.